Can you dig it, you sucker?
Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, six-time world champ. Got my man Brad Gilmore with me. Hey guys, how y'all doing? First of all, everybody out there that's listening, appreciate y'all for coming out. Brad, second of all, how you doing?
Yo, Book, I'm doing great. Even though the weather's been what it is in Houston, Texas, or in Friendswood, Texas, rather, in you and I's part, I've been great. And you know what I've done, Book? I've done like a social media cleanse a little bit, like the last 3-4 days. Just stay off of it. I might look one or two things, but just kind of stay away from it. And it's like not watching the news for a week. You just feel a lot happier about the world. It's not as bad as you think that it is whenever you stay away. What do they say? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah,
I think that's true. That's true.
I mean, the news, man, is definitely depressing. I can't wait, man, for things just to get better. I'm serious. Yeah. I just wish. I pray every night. I don't think I've prayed this hard since I was a very, very young man when Mama was around.
A young man.
I'm serious, man. But I'm like, man, can we please just get things somewhat back to normal? I took a ride in my car yesterday in my Porsche, and I hadn't taken a ride down 45 in quite some. Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Had no reason to go up 45, and I see new buildings going up, all kind of stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, that wasn't there. I mean, wait, I'm like, so it's crazy, and it felt so good just to get out of the house. I had the top down. The sun was shining, and it just felt good just to get out of the house. Me and Charmel, we just said, let's go take a ride. And it's bad when going to take a ride is the highlight of your day. You know what I mean? I'm serious. I mean, it's really bad when just going and take a ride up 45 and make the U-turn and come back home is the highlight of the day, man. My son asked me yesterday, he said, Dad, do you ever wish it was 2019?
Kendrick's a trip, man.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I wish it was 2019. We'd be at the fights. We'd be having fun.
At the one.
I'm serious. B1, man, they probably closed down. You know what I mean?
I've been thinking about B1 every day.
They probably closed down, man, after this thing, man. The way they used to be selling out, no way they could get that many people in there. You know what I mean? So I tell you, man, I'm just praying, hoping things get back.
It'll get better. I do want here at the top of the show, just because he was such a big wrestling fan, I want to give our respects to Regis Philbin, who passed away over the weekend. One of the television icons, man, held the world record, 17,000 hours on television. That's like being on TV for 2 years straight. That's how many times Regis Philbin was on, and he had so many great wrestlers back in the day, all on. And I know he was close friends with Classy Freddie Blassie, so I know he's a big fan of wrestling. So R.I.P. Regis.
Definitely a true legend to his business, man. I mean, he meant so much to so many people. I was looking at a photo with him and Kathy Lee Gifford from way back in the day, man. And it was like, man, this is amazing. This dude, he came so far, man. And just let you know, man, you can do anything if people like you. And that's what thing about Regis, man. People liked him. He didn't have to be great at what he did or anything. People loved that dude, man. So
started as an intern on the Steve Allen Tonight Show in 1955. And what a run, man. And one of those guys who's omnipresent. There's some people you grow up just knowing who they are and you don't know why you know them. Regis is one of those names you just know. Yeah,
definitely. Hey, man, but life is getting back to normal. Baseball is back in action. We've been having a lot of hiccups as far as trying to get everything off because of the 19. That's what I call it. I just call it the 19. It's bad. The Yankees, Marlins, everybody, man, seem like we're ready to do it. We want to do it, but my question is this, man. With football getting ready to get back in the swing of things, do we really think we're going to be able to complete a season without the bottom falling out of this whole thing?
I think it's a great question. It's something I thought about a lot. I think that what the NBA has done to this point with the bubble, and they just did another round of testing of all the players and coaches and staff who are in the bubble, 0 positive cases have come back. Unless you do a sport that way, where they're completely locked down, all the players and teams and staff are isolated in a certain location, and you can literally control the environment that they're in, I think that you're going to see more things like what happened with the Marlins, where 13 players and staff turn up with the 19. There's just too much traveling around. There's too much intermingling, commingling going on. You have to control it. So if football wants a chance, and I've heard football wants to have fans in the stands, they want to do this, they want to do that. They are on a hope and a prayer, because if you don't do it the way the NBA and soccer has been doing it, you're not going to be successful, and you're going to have a lot of issues. I'm still questioning if baseball is going to go on. I know that they said that it will, and the Astros, 3-1. So we hope that it keeps going on, and, we get that 2020 chip. But I think that a lot of these sports are going to have to really crack down and lock down and figure it out.
Yeah, they were in Atlanta. I can't remember who it was, but I mean, one of the players, snuck out and went to Magic City.
So I was going to ask you about this. I actually put it on the original list for today. Lou Williams, who former Houston Rocket, he now plays for the Los Angeles Clippers. He had a death in the family, or a family friend died, so he had an excused absence to leave. And then he said that he was hungry when he was about to head back, and he stopped off at Magic City in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This guy has wings named after him at Magic City. There's the sweet Lou lemon pepper wings.
So he frequent the spot.
He's a frequenter. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's funny. And he went to a strip club, for some wings. I'm sure that's the only reason he went.
He went there to do some scholarshiping.
Yeah, right. Put the girls through college. But here's the thing. It's funny too, but even Lou Williams doing that, he put everyone at risk in that bubble. He had a mask on, sure, but you're still around a whole bunch of people.
Trust me, bro. When you in the club, you ain't got no mask on. All right? You ain't got no mask on, man, because, I mean.
You're speaking like you're speaking from experience.
The smell. They want to smell everything. Nah, they want to be in the club and be in the experience. The whole thing is like going on a ride in Disneyland. If you ain't going up and down on the roller coasters, you ain't feeling the same effect. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying this out of experience or anything like that.
You're just saying this is what you think that would happen.
Perhaps.
What
would happen? Yeah.
Allegedly, hypothetically, this is what would happen.
Yeah, man. So that's crazy, though, man. That's crazy. Putting everybody in danger, catching the COVID because you want to go see the girls get a lap dance or something like that. Yeah. You definitely everybody's gonna have to be on the same page in order for something like this to work. Without something happening, because I would hate to see, just say for instance, if one team get knocked out, does that mess up the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was saying about with the Marlins. I'm like, what if they bench the Marlins for the rest of the season? What happens then? How do the rankings, how do the standings go out? There are 22 teams trying to compete in the NBA right now. Out of 30, 22 are in Orlando. If one, say, here's the thing. The favorites right now to win the championship is LeBron and the Lakers. What if one of the Lakers end up catching it and the whole team gets it? And now the Lakers are out of contention completely for the championship. I mean, there's a lot of ramifications. And Lou Williams is coming from a team, too, who's favored to be in the Western Conference Finals. That's the Los Angeles Clippers. So it's so risky. He's been punished with a 10-day quarantine in his hotel room. You cannot leave that room, not even step foot outside of it for 10 days. He's going to miss a couple games this week.
That's like being in jail for a few days, actually. You know what I mean? It really is.
I mean, the room service might be a little bit better, but I
you have a nicer TV. You might have a nice room, but still, I would feel like I was locked up if I was in that situation right there.
10 days. Think about it. Like, you can't even step outside to get a fresh breeze.
Well, he might have a window in his hotel room.
Maybe there's a window.
Might have a balcony.
I don't know if they trust him with a window. He might have some girls from Magic City coming through the window.
You ain't lying, man. I'm serious, bro. But I tell you, man, everybody's trying to get back in the swing of things. Like I said, boxing, MMA, of course, they in the bubble, and it seemed like the MMA has figured it out a little bit. Boxing seemed like they've figured it out as well. Mm-hmm. But those sports, individual sports, they're totally different than basketball, football, baseball, or anything like that.
A little bit easier to control. A little bit. You still got a lot of moving pieces, but easier.
A little bit. But we got a whole lot to talk about, guys, here inside the Hall of Fame. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, y'all. We're just talking about a little bit of this, a little bit of that. What I wanted to talk about, it had to do with this COVID thing. There again, WWE is getting ready for their annual event, SummerSlam, and they're talking about it being held on a large boat or a beach somewhere. And I'm wondering. Of course, the pay-per-view got moved out of Boston. Just due to, man, it's hard to have people inside under a roof, of course. And right now with the WWE thinking about moving the thing to the beach. Last pay-per-view I did was Bash at the beach. And I'm gonna tell you, man, it was awesome pay-per-view. What do you think about that right there? What do you think about SummerSlam being moved to a location like that?
I mean, Dana White.
And the reason I say a beach, which is, outdoors, of course, a boat atmosphere will be outdoors. We're thinking about doing a reality of wrestling show where it'll be like a drive-in movie theater. You know what I mean? And people stay in their cars or, sit on their hoods or whatever. And I think something like that, you could still bring people out to see it, still be socially distanced, and still try to be as safe as you possibly can. Because as we all know, let's just say it like it is, it's different watching wrestling without fans. The fans are what wrestling is. They've always been a part of what wrestling is. And it's hard for me to see myself doing King Booker without the fans there, the loyal subjects, the peasants, to be a part of that. That's why I say that. So give me your opinion on that, man.
I think that it's just like what we were talking about with Fight Island. Dana White moved everything to a secluded 10-mile radius to try his best to put on these fights. Now, where it gets more difficult when you're WWE, if you're going to try to do it with fans, it's hard to isolate the fans and figure out where they're coming from and how you're going to do same-day COVID testing. Are you going to have rapid testing for the fans? How are they going to be socially distanced? Are they going to be grouped socially distanced? Like if you come with a family, how's that going to? So there's a lot of questions that go into it that I'm sure are being thrown around in the WWE boardroom. Personally, WrestleMania this year, there were parts of it, as much as I enjoyed stuff like the Boneyard match and some of the matches, some of it was really hard to get through because it was silent. There was no crowd. Now, when they added the NXT folks, it sounded more familiar to a wrestling show. But, Book, like I've been at the reality wrestling gym when guys are training or doing a practice match and the boys and everybody in there, we play the audience. But we know what to do. We know boo, yay, boo. So you're not getting genuine organic reactions. For the biggest part of the summer, I think that having fans there, if they can figure out how to do it safely, that would be great for the show. Is it the greatest move right now? I don't know. Someone is going to be the first one back with fans. And we know Vince is like to be a pioneer a lot of times. He's changed the business. He's done a lot of things that people say he can't do. I can see him doing it. The beach idea appeals to me. Because if you're on a large beach where you can spread people out a lot, or you can have little cabanas set up for 2 people to sit at each and have it spread out and then have the ring with the ocean in the background, visually, it could be awesome. They would just have to figure it out. I'm not immediately opposed to it, but I'd like to hear more details on how they plan on doing it before I really make a real judgment one way or the other.
Nah, I like the idea. Something like that, I think that's the safest way you can go into something like this. Mm-hmm. Of course, we want fans back in the arena. We want fans back out there cheering for the boys and the ladies doing their thing. Just because, like I say, there again, it's wrestling, and then without it, it's just like for me. I wonder how long can we go without a crowd in the audience. It's like how long can you go without paying your mortgage? You know what I mean? Sooner or later, you know what I mean? The bottom's going to fall out, right? So that's what I'm thinking about. How long can we sustain, without, the crowd being in there giving the guys that energy that they need, as well as just that visual that we need as well. I just wonder how long can we sustain, man. But it's definitely.
I think it can be done, though. I do think it can be done. And I think that what we've seen here's the thing, even when we're talking about the NBA bubble in the last segment, there's still hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people living in this NBA bubble, right? That's a lot of people you're trying to control. If WWE, we're not saying they can do 20,000 people on a beach or anything like that. But if you have 500, 800 people, figure out how to space them out. So, like I said, socially distance in groups, perhaps, on a large beach. I think that you can figure it out. I think it can be done, and it can be done safely. Especially think about this: you have the rapid testing available on site. You can't come in until you get a temp check and a rapid test done. Wait 15 minutes for the results. Have a lab there. I mean, there's ways that they can do it. It's going to cost money.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. It's going to cost an exorbitant amount of money, and that's just for one show.
But it's SummerSlam.
Yeah,
SummerSlam. Not a random house show.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But just say people get, you know how people are, man. They tend to get, they belly full real quick, and they want more. So if you give it to them one time like that, and it's good, and people go, oh man, wrestling's back, and then they go back to what it was, what we're seeing right now. It could be one of those things where So I don't know, man. It's definitely.
Well, I know AEW has been doing their show from that. I think it's called Daly's Place in Jacksonville.
It's looked like it's outdoors, right?
It's an outdoor kind of amphitheater setup. It looks like, and they've been letting fans in, like limited groups of fans I've seen in the stands, grouped together way far away from the actual ring and the wrestlers, kind of up in the upper deck. So even if they can find in Houston we have Miller Outdoor Theater.
Yeah.
So even if you could find like an amphitheater type thing where people, again, outside, you can't do a whole hell of a lot of people, but outside looking down on the top of a hill down at the ring, there are ways that you can do it and do it, I think, safely. But like we said, money is going to need to be spent if you want to do this. But here's the other thing. We also know that Vince McMahon will spend the money if he thinks the idea is valid. He went head first in the XFL again, which was working, and it was working. So I think that if the bright minds are put together, they can figure out a way.
Hey man, I'm hoping nobody
try what the NBA's been doing. The NBA they have these boards on the court. They're all like screens, and they have fans watching via Zoom, and they're putting the fans' reaction in Zoom, through the speakers in the arena, so that they can have a real reaction.
We saw the idea that they tried. They went with baseball. I don't think it worked though. They was trying to put virtual people in the arena.
I saw that. It was on the Fox broadcast on Fox Network. I saw it. Here's the thing. If they could have figured out how to make sure every angle had people in it, I would have believed it. You know what I mean? I would have bought it.
No, because it looked like it was, it looked real. I was
it looks real. Yeah.
I was like, wow, this looks pretty good, So if they could pull something off like that, it definitely would make up a huge difference, especially as far as football go, because you got those big stadiums. Right. And empty seats with football players playing in an empty stadium. That's really going to feel weird. Yeah. It's not like a basketball court or anything like that. It's full, grass everywhere, and just these guys. It's going to look like a practice session every game.
Right.
Those guys go.
You need atmosphere. You need ambiance, and really, I think that the sport that is most dependent upon that is professional wrestling. Without that crowd reaction, it does leave something to be desired. So I think that everybody in wrestling, whether it be WWE, AEW, Impact, Reality of Wrestling, we all want to get fans back and figure it out. Our drive-in idea works for our size company because, as you say, we're a small company, but we work hard for our artists, right? And we work hard for our audience.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I think now a boat out of the question.
Yeah,
you do a boat. But on a beach, I could see it. It's possible.
When I think about the beach, man, when I think about the boat, I think about, man, didn't all them people get caught on that boat when they
yeah.
Like that, all that iron, you know what I mean? I'm talking about rushed. You bump into something, you you come down with something on a boat.
Right.
I don't know about the boat, man, but I don't know, man. I like the golfers, man. The golfers been having it real good going on, still continuing. Seem like it's no problem or anything like that. You know, what I like about the golfers, like, even after they hit a good shot, nobody's out there, they still throw up the, the hand, to the guys, that's how it's crazy, but I'm loving seeing the games get back in action, man. It's so much action out there right now. Some of the action went down just last week. We got to talk about that thing, man. The Pat McAfee show with Adam Cole as a guest, man. That thing, man. It's people right now on the internet. People all over Twitter. You know what I mean? People all over the gram. I'm gonna say it like these young people be the gram. People they want to talk about this issue, man. They want to talk about what really happened with Adam Cole and Pat McAfee. Was it a work or was it a shoot? Everybody wants to know. Well, we're going to tell you as soon as we get back. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, y'all. We big news was all over the social media sites last week. I actually pulled it up myself. I actually had to watch it. Adam Cole dispute with Pat McAfee, and people right now around the world that love this business, it's always have been that conspiracy theory. Man, is it real or is it not? Is it a work or is it a shoot? And with this incident right here, immediately when you and I started talking about it, Brad was one of those conspiracy theorists.
I was.
He's one of those guys that literally immediately jumped on and said, man, come on, it's a work, man. It's a work. These guys, come on, they're trying to work a story angle here. But I wouldn't let him give his thoughts on why he thought it was a work and all that. Go ahead, Brad. Go ahead and give me your side.
Well, so I saw rumblings, like you said, on the gram. On the gram is where I saw it. I saw rumblings on Instagram. A little going around of Adam Cole throwing a microphone down. So I went and saw the whole thing, and I watched not religiously, but I watched clips of the Pat McAfee show on YouTube. And so I saw you had Adam Cole, and I watched it, and out of nowhere, Cole goes like 0 to 60, throws the mic down, F you this, F you that. I'm in, okay? This looks like it might be real. When he shoves the co-host, I was like, oh, work. That was what had me go, okay, this is set up. You're not going to be in a physical environment and this, be a real thing. I don't think Adam Cole would go that far if he were angry. So that was what my initial cue was of work. Then I started thinking, though, after talking to you, I was like, well, what would the payoff be to this? Right? I was like, Pat, he's a former athlete, punter for the Indianapolis Colts, but doesn't necessarily mean he can go in there and work a match. We've seen football players try to do it before, but he's been retired. So what would the payoff be? And that's what led me to think, well, maybe it was real then, because I don't see any payoff. Then Adam Cole puts out the statement apologizing to the company, apologizing to Pat McAfee. I'm like, well, now he's kind of got a little grease on him, a little dirt on him. He's not as polished as he once was. Would he risk his reputation over something like this? So I don't know. Yesterday when I talked to you, I was like, hey, yeah, this was definitely a shoot. I still don't know. I think it's a shoot. But then Triple H goes on the show, and I'm like, well, what is this about? I don't know.
I mean, you got to definitely try to bury this thing if you don't want it to become something. I think Triple H on the Pat McAfee show kind of like, to me, shows it might have been a little bit more than what people thought it was. And me personally watching the whole thing build up, I could actually see the flames being fanned just a little bit. And one thing about, small, smaller guys in the business. It's the one thing you never really talk about is their size, especially to their face, because they can really get hot about it. I remember, back in the day, I had to wrestle Dean Malenko, and I said, hey man, at least give me somebody my size. And the thing is, Dean Malenko's a good friend. I wasn't dissing him or anything, but man, when they hear stuff like that, they take it a certain way. And I had to apologize to him, say, man, I didn't mean it that way. Pat McAfee, you could kind of see him jugging at, Adam Cole just on the surface of what wrestling is and what it's not. Adam Cole went into that thing and said, man, I'm bringing my whole character. I'm going to do my shtick, and I'm going to get up out of here and hopefully you'll get some good numbers from it. But you can kind of see Pat McAfee taking it a little bit, different, and looking at it a little bit different. It's different. And the thing is, it's a very thin line, whether you're walking on one side or the other, when it's pissing somebody off and making somebody upset. It's a very, very thin line. You might not even see it or feel it until it happened, just like with Adam Cole. Because when Adam Cole finally got to that breaking point, he went on and, went all the way over the limit. Now you talk about the guy that came up and, tried to, restrain Adam Cole, and Adam Cole pushed that guy. I can only imagine if I was upset and somebody came and put their hands on me. Yeah. The guy, I would have pushed him so hard he would have fell down. I know he would have, because I would have tried to push him down and get somebody upset. And it seemed like that's where Adam Cole was. And the thing is, I've been in that position before where somebody's irking me along, and then finally I just snap and go off on them. And it's one of those things, I'm not caring about my job at that moment in time, because it's one of those 100%, 99% type of deals for me. It's 100% because I feel like I got to speak up for myself right here, and the consequences that comes along with it, I'm willing to take it, because right now, this is not the time to be screwing around with me, because I might be in a certain state at that moment in time. And it seemed like that's where Adam Cole was, especially when he said, man, I took away from my family to come here and do this interview. I mean, geez, and this is what I get, someone being condescending and disrespecting. Screw you, in other words.
Yeah, no, I hear where you're coming from 100%. And that's why literally when this happened, there was two things that came to my mind after you and I spoke about it. And what you were referring to is a legendary thing amongst wrestling fans of when stuttering John Melendez came up to you and irritated you, and you went off on him from the Howard Stern show, right? Is that what you're
but I had a migraine headache that day.
Right. There was
I wasn't feeling well at all. And then I got somebody coming up to me playing with me, and the thing is, he stopped stuttering when I went off on him. And then I started, going off. I said, see, now you're not even stuttering. Now, see, now you working the gimmick. So I totally like Adam Cole, talking about Pat McAfee being a punter, so bro, don't come screwing with me when, you're going to take me to a certain place, because I'm going to start, irking back on you. And I think that's what happened with that situation right there. I just don't think Pat McAfee knew exactly, how he was irking Adam Cole and how hard he was irking him and how far it had gone.
Agreed. That was one thing that came to my mind, was that thing with you and John Melendez back in the day. But the other thing that came to my mind was something that you and I know very closely. This happened on a radio show. And I remember the Corey Graves thing that happened on our radio show, where everybody bought into it hook, line, and sinker. And you and I and Corey were just laughing because it was like, everybody bought this. How are they buying this? This is obviously a joke.
Well, but the thing is, that was obviously a joke.
But so many people, USA Today, Forbes, all of them reporting on it.
No, but the thing is, even the way I, laid it out, it sounded like a joke.
Right.
If you listen to the whole transcript, if you just read the whole transcript, you would know it wasn't real. It just didn't make any sense. And for people to pick that up, unlike this Adam Cole McAfee deal, it was a conversation being had. The conversation led to Adam Cole, where I picked up on what Adam Cole said, I came out, Adam Cole, baby. People didn't know who I was. I didn't think they knew who I was, and boom, everybody knew, who I was, and I'm the king of, NXT right now. And when he said he was the king of NXT, Pat McAfee kind of blew him off a little bit, like, yeah, right. And then starts, talking about the undisputed era, and whatnot. And they're the reason. Okay, now we're working. We're working right now.
Right.
I can take that part right there because we're inside the scope. But when it went outside the scope, is where everything kind of changed right there. And Adam Cole said, "Man, I'm tired of playing this game."
Yeah, well,
that's just the way I see it. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll come out with a statement just like I did with Corey Graves, because I see people, on the chat line, a lot of them think that, it was a work. It was a work.
We're wrestling fans, so we're always going to think that.
Well, the thing is, I've been in the business for a long time, and sometimes I see things and I know it's a work. Normally, 100% of the time, I can tell you when it's a work. Yeah. And normally I can tell you when it's not a work. And with this situation right here, I just do not think it was, they may turn it into a work, but I don't think no one got anything out of that for it to have been a work. That's just my opinion.
Well, yeah. And that's the one thing that I keep coming back to is like, what's the payoff? Like where are we going? Now, if we see Adam Cole and Pat McAfee have a segment on NXT TV,
if they got a match on SummerSlam,
or they got a match on SummerSlam, didn't think of that. Booker T coming with the idea here, but I think that if that happens, okay, now we know where we were going, and they got everybody. But either way, it's good for both of them at the end of the day, right? I mean. More people are aware of Adam Cole. More people are aware that Pat McAfee has a show.
The thing is, we're talking about it, but they're not. So maybe if we don't see something happen with this, as far as an angle perspective over the next 4 weeks, we'll know if it was a shoot or not. How about?
I agree.
Guys, stick around and keep commenting, guys. We'll let you inside the Hall of Fame in a minute. But we'll be back. Stick around. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, y'all. We're going to be talking about a whole lot, guys. We got to stay on the wrestling here for a second. We're going to be talking about Khabib Justin Gaethje. It's official, guys, going down in October. Can't wait for that. Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., epic confrontation getting ready to happen. We got to talk about that, man. But one thing that I'm a little sad. In WWE. Kairi Sane, man. She's off, man. She left the WWE and she's no longer a part of the company, heading back to Japan. What do you think about Kairi Sane, man? Because man, I tell you, she is my son, 9-year-old Kendrick. I took him to an NXT show here in Houston downtown. I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. And it was the first time he had ever gone to a wrestling show with me, just him and I, outside of WrestleMania or anything like that. And I tell you, man, when Kairi Sane came out, the Insane Pirate with that pirate's wheel, yeah, man, I tell you, Kendrick went nuts. He was so over the top because not only did she look cool she had on all white that night, and it was like, man, she looked like, like a little queen or something. And my son was like, wow, she looks good. And then she got in the ring and she started working, and my son was really going crazy. And then she did that elbow off the top rope. And he became an instant fan, and Kairi came back in the locker room and he met her. And I swear, man, ever since that day, he's been like hooked on professional wrestling. I mean, right now he knows every wrestler's name, every wrestling move. He commentates on a regular basis, even when and to see her leave, man, I think it's It's a huge loss, just because I really think Kairi Sane could have been just as big a star or even bigger than Asuka representing Japan. So it's a huge loss, I think, as far as WWE goes.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. I know she wanted to go back to Japan. I think that she was either recently married or maybe her husband lives over there, so she wants to go back, something to that effect. I don't know the exact reasoning, but I think you know how you always talk about Samoa Joe, of you heard the name before you saw the guy?
Yeah.
That was for me, Kairi Sane. I kept hearing this Kairi Sane, oh, wait till you see her elbow drop. Wait till you see her elbow drop. And I think that she was maybe in the Mae Young Classic, and that's when a lot of people first saw her. And then I remember tuning into no, I didn't even tune into NXT. We went to NXT War Games at the Toyota Center, similar to Kendrick, seeing her in Houston. We'll come see her out with the Pirates wheel, and then the elbow drop just sells you. The elbow drop sells you on everything. Maybe the only one I've ever seen to rival the Macho Man. And she, to me, when she made her main roster debut and they put her and Asuka and Paige together, I was like, wow, that's a money-making operation right there. The Kabuki Warriors, Paige is a great mouthpiece. They're going to be the women's tag team champions. They ended up doing that, and I could see her and Asuka headlining WrestleMania against one another for the women's championship. And I would buy into it wholeheartedly. I thought that that's how good that she was and how good Asuka is. And I love the pair of them together. Her walking away, everyone has their reasonings, right? But I think that she's won. She's not leaving on bad terms. You know, there's no bad blood there, at least that we know. She put out a really awesome statement on Twitter, thanking everybody backstage, the locker room, the fans. So I think that she might be one that we could see her in sporadic appearances from here on out. I don't think that she's going to walk away from the game altogether, and WWE, I think, is going to be the home going forward. So I hope we see Kairi Sane back in WWE, maybe at the Royal Rumble. I could see it happening.
I see one of the comments that just came in from Viking Tees. I just want to put this out there. It's a really good thought, man. I wish I would have came up with the idea: Asuka versus Kairi, loser leave town, retirement. That would have been great. That would have been some really, really good booking right there for me to see. Those two at odds. And the reason is whatever, and the loser leaves the WWE and go home back to Japan. Oh man, that's a great. That's actually a great storyline there, kid. I might have to hire you over at Reality Wrestling to do some stuff for me, but I think, like I say there again, Kairi, man, she definitely was a player. I thought she was going to be a huge star in the WWE. And the one thing I must say, like you say, her name got there well before she did. So she definitely made her mark. What do you think about Big E, man? Big E right now is looking to make a singles run. Xavier Woods, of course, he's done. He's finished. And then you got Kofi Kingston
for G4. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, Kofi Kingston's supposed to be out for 6 weeks. What happened? Kofi, what's injured? What's ailing him right now?
I think it was something with his was it something with his arm or elbow? Something somewhere in the upper extremities, I do believe. Caught an injury, and then they had this segment on Friday Night SmackDown where he said, "We all want this for you. We've all been wanting this for you. It's time for you to go out there and show the world what Big E can do." I love the idea of Big E in a singles capacity. He's one of those guys, in my opinion, who's the rare talent of he wasn't always thinking wrestling, but he came into wrestling and he's picked it up so well over the last, I'm sure it's been 8 to 10 years that he's been in the business now. And he's entertaining and he's huge, right? He's jacked, muscular guy, and he's entertaining. He can talk on the microphone. I think that Big E is one of those guys who could go out there and have a big singles run that, in my opinion, could surpass even Kofi Mania from last year. I mean, you had the groundswell of support from the audience. I think that people want to get behind Big E. And if he, maybe tones down the comedicness of some of his promos and his character and goes out there, keeps some elements of that, because when you were on top, or Rock or Austin or Angle, you all still had a certain comedic element to you, right? Yeah. But keep a little bit of it, but don't shed it all, but go out there and be a badass when that bell rings. Big E could be over huge, and that could be a man who runs a brand going forward, in my opinion.
Well, there again, like you just said right there, I think Big E is going to have to shed a few things in order for people to look at him like the world champion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's, the the gear, maybe some forms of the gear, the colors as well. But then again, people say, "Oh, he shouldn't change anything." So I'm not gonna sit here and say, what. Just because I don't want the internet going off saying, Booker T say need to do this. Just like Matt Riddle need to put on a pair of boots. I don't. That's another story. But I just think Big E still trying to be the New Day is not going to work for him as far as him working at the top of the card. I'm talking about being the main attraction. I'm talking about being the guy that the company has put in position to be the guy. I don't think that's going to catapult him to that level as far as still trying to be the New Day. And the thing is, you can't try to rehash something that you've been doing for so long and think that's what's going to take you to the level. Just like we got a guy that's going to be on the show, Mike DeMiz, talking about Cannonball. Talking about a guy that changed his levels, that was able to literally reinvent himself so many times, and people sometimes there again, it's like that the wind, you can feel it but you can't touch it. You don't even see the subtle changes in the wind sometimes, but you can feel it every single time, and that's what the Miz has given. So there again, man, just try to stay on track.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about Big E, and anybody who's come out of a group, you have to evolve to the next level, right? You have to change, and like you said, not completely. Now, don't come out and be a completely different person. We still want Big E, but just figure out how to tune it and kick it into the next gear. I think that to some extent, because the Kofi thing wasn't really planned, right? Mustafa Ali goes out. Kofi does this great match on SmackDown. Groundswell of support from the audience. We get Kofi Mania. He's a WWE champion. He's still in New Day. I think with New Day being on the back burner right now, this gives Big E the perfect opportunity to put them kind of off to the side, put that character kind of to the side a little bit. And like I said, be a bigger badass. Because here's the thing, when Big E starts going, even in these tag matches with him and Kofi, I mean, he fires up well. He knows how to engage the audience. And I think that he could be a world champion. And it's just like you said, changing the levels. If you still had a high top and a mustache, you wouldn't have been the world champion, right? You always have to evolve.
Yeah, man. Big E, I talked to Big E probably, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And I could tell he wasn't in the best place. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, trust me, bro. I think it was right after Kofi won the title, actually. Mm-hmm. And I said, trust me, bro, your time is coming, man. I said, your run is gonna actually happen. And he looked at me and he was like, I could see, he was like, almost like, nah, it ain't gonna happen. But I said, trust me, it's gonna happen for you, and because you're talent, bro. Just keep doing what you're doing. Cream ride to the top. And now I see Big E getting ready to have a singles push, a singles run. The push is gonna come up to him. At least, him continuing to get the push is going to be all up to him. That's why I say, like you just said a second ago, coming out of a group, you got to be able to, change your level. I mean, think about Shawn Michaels. He couldn't be, the same guy he was with the Rockers. Myself, I couldn't be the same as I was with Harlem Heat. I had to be able to, change up a little bit and evolve. And I think I know Big E can do it, because this guy, he's a very, very intelligent individual. And there again, I'm looking forward to seeing what Big E do in the singles ranks. Guys, stick around. We got a whole lot more for you. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. It is official. Drew McIntyre versus that man, Randy Orton, at SummerSlam for the title, man. I'm looking forward to that one right there, because who was it just talking about? If I think it was JBL, he was just talking about, man, if Randy Orton get a couple of more titles, his name will be, in the conversation as far as being perhaps the greatest that ever did it. And I agree. Randy right now, he's very highly decorated, and another couple of championships, man, put him in that John Cena mode, Ric Flair mode, place that too many people hadn't ascended to in this business. That's why I say that about Randy Orton. He's going to be taking on Drew McIntyre, a guy that I give a lot of credit. Another one of my guys, man. All of these guys are my guys, and that's what I appreciate. When I'm serious, man, all these guys, when they come on the show, man, they always give me a little bit of props as far as what I've tried to do for them throughout their careers. I'm talking about, I don't care if it's Jinder Mahal, you know what I mean? Jinder Mahal, I don't care if it's, Heath Slater. I don't care who it is. I see talent, man. I spot talent, and I always try to encourage those guys to do not quit. Do not give up on yourself. Honestly, you have to learn your playbook, maybe. I might give you some constructive criticism at the same time. I'm not going to just sugarcoat it, but all of those guys, man, just like the Miz coming on later, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, these guys could say, man, Booker T had some footprint throughout my career to have made me a little bit better. So that's why I'm happy to see these two guys get in there and mix it up. And for Drew, hopefully this will be the first time since becoming champion to be able to perform in front of not that capacity crowd or anything like that, but a real crowd that's going to give him some real feedback, because I think that's the one thing that Drew has been missing more than anything, is getting true, honest feedback from the crowd, whether they really like his stuff or if it's mediocre or if they don't like it at all. That right there lets you know, man, do I need to turn my game up? Am I doing the right things or the wrong things or not? Getting in the ring with a guy like Randy Orton, there again, it's a no-brainer. You're going to learn something.
Yeah.
And you're going to be better than you were on all of those nights in front of no crowd. So definitely he's going to have something to bounce off of it as far as that go. SummerSlam, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre. Can't wait to see.
I think it's a great matchup. It's a perfect matchup. I think that really everyone that Drew's been given as far as a championship opponent has gotten him, a little bit closer, right? A little bit further. Whether it's Bobby, whether it's Dolph makes him look dominating. Bobby shows that he can go out there in a fight with someone just his same size. Now, can you go out there with someone who's as experienced a veteran as Randy Orton? And like you say, Randy Orton really is that man lately. I mean, this is a guy who's been around since 2002 on television, actively, week in, week out, with, a couple breaks here and there for injuries, but nothing else. This is the guy who's gone off and done movies. He's not the guy who's gone off and hosted shows. He's been Randy Orton, the WWE superstar, since 2002. And he's had, I think, 14 title reigns, something like that. He is already, in these last couple months, kicked it into the next level of his career. He's working at a higher level than he's maybe worked in the last several years. And he's the one at a peak. He's peak right now. And I think that going in there with Randy for Drew, this can teach him so many things. And what you said about the crowd, if they can pull off a crowd for SummerSlam, you're absolutely right about that feedback for Drew. Because I know whether it's hosting a show or doing whatever in front of a live audience, you come up with some things. Oh, I'm going to say this is a funny story, or I'll say this is a funny joke. And you tell it to yourself in your house or in your room when you're getting ready. You think it's pretty funny. You go out there and say it in front of the crowd. They don't think it's funny. And you're like, oh, okay, I got to change that. That didn't work. How can I make this funny now? Because I like the concept. How can I work around it? And for Drew, he can only go off what he sees on social media, right? And social media, there's no gray area. You're either the greatest WWE champion of all time, or Drew, you suck. I hate your guts, right? There's no in between on social. So for him to go out there and have the opportunity to work Randy Orton and do it in front of a crowd of, even if it's 100 people, even if it's 300 people, to get their feedback and say, hey, man, this is working. Because before, when we were still in crowd mode in the early part of the year, I think you and I talked about on this show how over that 3-2-1 Claymore thing got with
And now it's pretty quiet.
Because there's no one there, right?
Exactly.
So to see if they're still bought in the same way they were all those months ago, I think that they are, but you have to question yourself as a performer of, will the pop be there?
Yeah. We got a question from SBJ. Who needs this win more, Orton to cement his legacy or McIntyre to legitimize his title reign? What do you think on that?
Well, Randy Orton's legacy is cemented. You know, I think that Randy Orton could never wrestle another match, and he'll go down as a top 15, 20 guy of all time. Right now, like you said before, a couple more title reigns where we have to automatically put him in that top 10, top 5 conversation.
Yeah, but who needs it more, though?
But who needs it more is Drew. I think Drew needs it more.
Yeah.
Needs is a weird word, but I think Drew would benefit more from a win against Randy Orton at SummerSlam, because then you think about it. I beat Brock at WrestleMania. I beat Drew McIntyre at I beat Randy Orton at SummerSlam. I'm legit now. I'm the legit guy. And so many more people would say, this is the WWE champion, Drew McIntyre. This isn't a placeholder champion. This is the guy.
You know what, though, just from a booking perspective, you know, I became, the world heavyweight champ, 3-time world heavyweight champion over a matter of about a year. Okay.
Right.
And man, it did so much for my career. So I think both guys could actually win, even if Drew McIntyre was to lose this match. I mean, the rematch and Drew McIntyre picking it up and becoming 2-time world champion. That's what solidifying your legacy is all about. Not just winning it one time. It's about how many times can you go back to the mountaintops? You know, how many times can you win it? I think what make you feel like, man, at the end of your career, man, you know, I did it. The company put me in that position several times to be the guy that let me know that, man, throughout those years, you know, I did something. One time, one championship for Drew McIntyre is not going to do anything for his legacy. I don't think so. Drew McIntyre had to be one of those guys that win the heavyweight championship multiple times to put him in the conversation of the greats that ever did it. And we talk about, Drew McIntyre and how proud he is to be the first, Brit guy from the UK actually to pull it off and win this championship. So I say, man, even if he loses, he still has the opportunity, the chance to win.
That is true. And when you think about it like that, for a baby face, right, sometimes it can get, after a while, even in the early 90s for WWF, they started to boo Hogan. They're like, we've seen it. We've seen it. Give us something different, right? So for Drew, I'm not saying that people are bored of him or by any means, but I'm saying if you just keep going out there and winning, after a while, fans are going to say, well, let's see some variety here. It could be a good opportunity to have Drew back on the chase. Randy Orton, Drew has him beat, goes for the Claymore. Randy ducks it. Boom. RKO out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I was right there. Randy, you know what I mean? Like there's some story points you could go off of to build him back up and have him chase again. So I agree with you anyway. But for me, Drew beating Orton at SummerSlam, that's huge, man.
Yeah, it's huge. But I mean, the way I would book this match, if I could book it, these guys would have they would be married for quite some time. They definitely would be on multiple shows, doing multiple things to engage the crowd to get them to feel a certain way. And I just think those two guys, the dynamics of the way those guys go out and perform, and where Randy is as a worker these days, I mean, he's second to none. I really give him a lot of credit. That match will be something, I don't know if it will be the greatest wrestling match of all times, but it'd be good. Hey guys, stick around. Stick around. We got a whole lot more for you. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, y'all. We just rolling. We just rolling. Right now, man, the biggest news out there, I think, right now is Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. Mike Tyson, man. Mike Tyson. He's back. But Roy Jones, he's one of those guys, man, that hadn't, gotten too far away from the game to where, we could just look past him and think Mike Tyson is going to go in there and just run over Roy Jones. We don't know where Mike Tyson is as far as his fighting skills go at the age of 54. Okay. I'm 55 and man, I woke up yesterday and I told Charmel, God, I feel great. Man, I feel like, let's go for a walk, around the block, get back, man, I felt so good. And then around noon, every bone in my body was aching. And it happens that quick. You don't know when it's going to happen. The Mike Tyson, of course, he's an athlete. That right there is something that never going to leave away, that want to go in the ring and fight another man. He suppressed that for a long time. We thought Mike had literally got that out of his system. Am I right or wrong?
Oh, yeah, 100% right.
Mike, in interviews, he said he didn't even want to think about that guy because I'm in a different place now. But it just goes to show you the want and sometimes the need to get in there and fight with a man to know where you are is something I think it never goes away in certain people. I'm one of those people. I really am. I know I am. Throughout this pandemic, and people not wearing masks, I've been wishing somebody say something to me. You know what I mean? The wrong way, just so I could test myself.
You're confrontational, like Rob Van Dam says. But what you say about Mike, I never thought. So back in February, you and I, Tyson, we had a little, get together for a couple minutes, what have you, at the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight, right? And I saw Mike then. That was the first time I'd ever met him, and I was like, man, Mike looks pretty good right now. He didn't look like Mike from the 80s or the early 90s, but he looked pretty good. Yeah. And I remember shaking his hand and going, God, man, he hits people with these things. That must suck to be his opponent, right? And I never thought that he'd be back in the ring. But you start seeing those videos, and you said, Tyson looks like he's got some power in him. As long as he matches up with somebody who would be a good match for him. I think Roy Jones Jr. isn't someone, like you said, we can look over because he stayed active. He's more active than Tyson. I think Tyson last fought in 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. So 14, 15 years ago. That's a very long time. And he's a lot older than he was even at that age, which he was considered to be old at that time.
But he's only 3 years older than Roy Jones. So,
right. So
it ain't like these two guys couldn't play in the sandbox together.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. They're in the same range. I think it's going to be great. I'll be honest with you. I've bought in. I loved Mike Tyson. I've always loved Mike Tyson. I want to see him go out there and knock Roy Jones Jr. out in 40 seconds. I don't think it's going to happen maybe like that. I know they both said, we're not going to go out and knock each other out. This is an exhibition. We're just going to have a good little fight. But it's Mike Tyson. He's going to knock somebody out. I would be so disappointed to buy the pay-per-view and Mike and Roy just play it nice for 8 rounds. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen. Mike's going to go for the jugular. I know that he is. If you saw that clip that was circulating around a couple months ago of him on his podcast where he's talking about the vicious beast that lives inside him and he's a killer. And when he gets in there, that's going to come out. And Mike Tyson, and I think that he's got some power behind those shoulders, man. He's got the power in the hands.
Look,
we're going to see it, man.
This is no different than Antonio Tarver versus Rocky Balboa. Okay, Mason the Lion Dixon. That's what his name was, and it was supposed to be an exhibition fight. Mm-hmm. Past versus the future. Okay. Now, I don't know if you remember the line in that movie that Antonio Tarver, Mason the Lion Dixon said. He said, "Man, if you get in there and you do anything, you try to embarrass me, I'm gonna hurt you." That's what we are, man. Right here. These guys that go into this thinking one way and one punch, they have one of them, Vietnam flashbacks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just throwing punches. So I don't know, man. If I was to give the edge in this fight, even though Mike Tyson been out of the ring, well past Roy Jones, I think, being a true heavyweight, being a guy that, hit as hard as Mike Tyson did in his prime, I still think at 54 years old, I still think Mike Tyson still got more power and more speed than someone like Roy Jones. Roy Jones is one of those fighters that when he went over the top as far as his fighting skills and he started going down, Roy Jones went down very, very quickly, as well as Roy Jones became a fighter that, couldn't get hit anywhere near the chin. So I'm thinking in this fight right here, Mike Tyson is going to come out hard and fast. And he's going to be throwing punches from all angles, and one of them might connect just because it's Mike Tyson throwing them. So I see Mike Tyson. I'm hoping that he don't go out there and hurt Roy Jones Jr. more than anything.
Yeah, you mentioned the Mason the Line Dixon thing with Rocky Balboa. I remember when you were on the Steve Austin show, and he talked about how you gave him a pretty stiff shot, and then he said, all right, that's how you want to do it. And then he gave you a pretty stiff shot back, right?
Yeah.
Even though this is supposed to be, hey, we're working together, brother. We're trying to make each other look good. Sometimes that competitive juice is just going to fly. I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this fight. Mike's going to go out there with the greatest of intentions. And then we've seen Mike turn on a dime. Once you say something or do something that he doesn't like, Roy Jones Jr. hits him with a nice little jab. Mike goes, oh, yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cute. Let me show you what I can do. And it's going to be a real life version of Mike Tyson's Punch Out, the video game. So I think that even though Roy's been active, you talk about a true heavyweight. Roy Jones was a super middleweight, and moved up to heavyweight, I believe.
I think, but that fight with Ruiz, John Ruiz, I don't know if I don't know if Roy Jones had any other heavyweight fights. I think he moved up to fight heavyweight that one time, and he actually won the heavyweight championship. But I don't think that Roy Jones were ever anywhere near being a heavyweight other than that one fight.
Let me ask you this, though. Mike goes out there, boom, beats Roy Jones Jr. in this exhibition, knocks him out, third round. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Automatically get the bug.
He's going to feel it. He's going to think that he's the baddest man on the planet, and I'm not one to tell him that he's not. But how far do you see this going? Could we see Mike Tyson fight guys his age? Could we see him go try to fight a couple? Could we see, you talk about Ruiz, could we see Tyson versus Andy Ruiz? Could we see something like that happen where he fights a real contender down the road?
I really think it's going to all count on what happens in this Roy Jones fight, because I really believe if Mike Tyson go out and knock the hell out of Roy Jones, he's going to get the bug again. He's going to think, man, I still got it. And right now, people think that era can probably beat, 80% of the guys today. I'm serious. You know what I mean? I mean, whether they can or not, that's another story. But the fighters of today, they don't look at them nowhere near the way they looked at guys like Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Tyson stepping in and fighting a John Ruiz on paper, people say, man, that's a good look for Mike right there. And the thing is, Mike Tyson perhaps could go out there and knock John Ruiz out. I don't know. But the odds are slim. Just because I think about George Foreman. George Foreman came back after retiring at 30, came back at 40, and then ran to 50. Mike Tyson retired at 40. Went through his that full stint, and then come back in his 50s to try to. How far can he run at 54 years old? How hard can he train at 50 years old? How long can he sustain in a ring? 3-minute rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 5. How far can he go before he, start feeling, the weight of not being a fighter for so many years? So I don't know, man. Mike, he get the bug. I'm sure he's going to fight again. If he win that fight, I'm sure he's going to fight again. And the thing is, I'm hoping Mike Tyson make me a believer, and we can go on another run again and feel that excitement just one more time. Mike Tyson guy, stick around because I'm getting excited right now. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the Hall of Fame, y'all. Hey, thanks for that super chat, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah, man. $5 donation.
I always use what we can here on the show. We always, just trying to bring you guys some entertainment, let you guys escape just for a moment, because these days we all need an escape. So V, we appreciate you. Definitely at the Hall of Fame, man. But Mike Tyson, man, hopefully there again that he can get back in the ring and get on another role, because I'm looking. Hopefully it'll happen. I know this fight getting ready to come up, but hopefully by next year for his second fight, we can have people in the arena and
we could be there.
Yeah.
He was talking about. He said he could knock Conor McGregor clean out, and the thing is, he would if Conor and Mike boxed today. Mike, it would be a one-sided affair in my opinion. And that's not knocking Conor's ability, but it's just like it's a heavyweight versus a featherweight.
Well, I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna say this: he probably can't knock Conor McGregor out. That's an understatement. But the thing is, it would be according to how big the ring is, what kind of ring that they're working in. Mm-hmm. All of that got to come into play, because I really believe, as fast as Mike look, and Mike, I love him. You know what I mean? As fast as Mike look on these videos that he's been posting, you can only throw punches like that for so long. Right. I think if you could run from someone like Mike Tyson for a couple rounds, it could change the whole dynamics of the way the fight outcome is going to be, just because him getting anxious, not being able to hit you, wanting to hit you, getting tired at the same time. And then next thing you know, bip, 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 anything can happen. I'm talking about Morse code, SOS. Anything can start happening.
Little pepper shot. Yeah, I hear you.
You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I just don't want to see Mike Tyson come back. And the thing is, he can't ruin his legacy. He can't.
No, he can go out here and get knocked out in 2 seconds, and it doesn't change how people view Mike Tyson.
Already set in stone, but I would hate to see Mike Tyson get in the ring with one of these fighters and end up getting hurt.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to see at all. And I'm hoping Mike Tyson, know exactly. You know what the thing is? He's got to know what he's getting into. He's been here before. This is nothing new for Mike Tyson, but definitely do not take getting back in that square circle lightly. I wouldn't want to see him get hurt.
Yeah, I don't want to see him get hurt. And the thing is, and I don't think this is going to happen at all. But I would.
Joe, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I would hate to see this fight, and makes me think and calls back to Chuck and Tito 3. You know what I mean? Like, where, hey, at one time you were one of the absolute best Chuck Liddell, but you have no business being inside of an octagon at this stage in your life and career. I hope that that's not what this looks like. I just don't want to feel sad, because I'm so hyped to see Mike Tyson fight. I don't care who he's fighting. I just don't want to feel like, oh man, I wish Mike didn't go out there and do that because he didn't look good. He's gasping for air. I don't want to have those reactions. I'm not saying they're going to happen, but when I heard, it was like when we heard, I remember calling you and I said, hey, Book, guess what's going to be at the Toyota Center? It's going to be Ken Shamrock versus Royce Gracie, the rematch. They're doing it at Bellator. And you were so excited. I was so excited. Then I remember the fight happened. We were like, what was that? They should have done this fight. This sucks. I don't want to see these legends in there like that.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
but how excited we were.
I was so excited to see those two guys back in there, but it definitely did not live up to the hype. at all. And normally, fights like that, they normally never live up to the hype. And the reason being, I can't remember how old Horace Gracie was at that time, but when you got two old guys in the ring fighting,
right,
it's not going to look like two young guys fighting. And I say that just because we go to UFC just this past weekend, Nogueira versus Shogun Rua. The first fight those guys had, man, they look so young. They look so fresh. The punches and everything seemed like they were, whizzing by, like bullets. And then we saw this last weekend where it just looked like two old guys in the ring. Still got skill, no doubt, but at one point they just ran into each other and Shogun took a bump. Then Nogueira tried to get on top of him, and the scramble just did not look like two young men scrambling. So age is a factor, when it comes to fighting, when it comes to sports. It always have. Of course, Nolan Ryan, just say Nolan Ryan, for instance, Houston famed pitcher that went out and could, throw those guys out like it was nothing. But as Nolan Ryan got older, man, that fastball, it wasn't as fast as it was once before. It didn't have the same zip on it, and those guys were knocking them, clean up out of the park. So age is a factor when it comes to, sports. So I just, there again, I hope these guys go out and give a good show. And I don't want to put Mike Tyson over, just say Mike going to go out there and then it's going to be the next fight. Roy Jones could, throw literally a monkey wrench, a slip on a banana peel in this whole deal. If Mike Tyson, because just think about it, Mike Tyson's been knocked out. His last few fights that Mike Tyson had, Mike Tyson got knocked out. So I'm not going to just pass judgment and say who's going to win this fight. But I think Mike is going to win. But I'm not going to count Roy Jones out. Let's just say.
Yeah. No, I agree. But we got to talk. We only have a couple minutes before we bring Mike the Miz on and we say goodbye to the great people. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Justin Gaethje title unification bout is official October the 24th. We know that unfortunately Khabib just had the passing of his father. And he's been dealing with that, but it looks like a deal has been able to get made, and we're going to see this fight happen. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, man, I don't think it's going to be any different than any other Khabib fights. Khabib's going to come out and he's going to lay waste. He's going to come out to try to put hands on this guy Justin Gaethje, because Justin has proved that as of late, just off the Ferguson fight, hey, bro, I'm not the guy that many of you may think I am.
Right.
And the thing is, Justin Gaethje is one of those guys that was always reckless. He was a guy that fought with reckless abandonment. And in his last fight, he didn't do that at all. If he can bring that same mindset, same game plan to a fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov, he has a chance. I could say that right there. But I know Khabib losing his father, man, he's going to be emotional coming into that cage. And he's going to be ready to rip somebody's arm off, somebody's leg off. So I just hope Justin Gaethje is ready for the storm that's coming, because it ain't like your average tropical storm. This is like a tornado that's going to be twisting, man, at high, very, very high speeds. But I'm hoping, America. I mean, I like Khabib, but I'm going with America on this deal right here, and I'm hoping Justin Gaethje go out there and pull that thing off and bring the title home.
Normally, I'm always rooting for the underdog, right? And here's the thing: in every one of Khabib's most recent fights, Dustin Poirier, I was rooting for Dustin Poirier. When it was him and Conor, I was rooting for Conor. I want to see him get beat. I don't know why. Just when someone has that O and the other guy's the underdog, I want to see the upset happen. That's how I've always been. This case, actually, though, Book, I'm on the other side. Because of what Khabib's gone through, it was like who fought recently? Was it Walt Harris? They gave us that whole promo package about him and his daughter, and my heartstrings get pulled. I'm so close with my family, and to think about losing my father and then having to go out there and perform for the world championship, I'm going to be rooting for Khabib in this one. And before I was Gaethje all the way. This one, I got Khabib, and here's the thing: I think Justin's a really tough matchup for him. I do. I think Khabib, he's the best wrestler on the ground maybe that we've ever seen. Justin Gaethje is, as people say, first team all violence. And this guy can go out there and take a beating and give one out 3 times as bad. So I think it's a bad matchup for him, but I'm going to go with Khabib just because.
It's gonna come down to the mat more than anything on this in this fight. If Justin Gaethje could somehow, keep Khabib at bay for 2 rounds and make him stand up, Justin Gaethje wins this fight by knockout. And either way, though, I don't think Khabib can stand up the way he did with Conor McGregor with Justin Gaethje. I'm thinking he's going to have to take it to the ground. That's going to be a strategy. That's going to be his game plan from round 1, from the outset. Get this man on his back and try to make him pay. So we'll find out. We'll see. But we got to get up out of here, man. Right now, and take a quick break. But the Miz will be back inside the Hall of Fame in just a minute, guys. Stick around. Back in a minute.